we are at a very interesting point in this conference today, where the background has been very well described by a previous panel and previous speaker, and globally also we say that this is the technology area. In India also, we are at a very interesting time point when it comes to data and innovation and technology. Basically, data and innovation are actually the backbone for any industry, research in any industry, and especially in pharma industry. And whenever I'm visiting outside India, people ask me, "What's the weather in India?" And I think whether I should think of Rajasthan where I was born, or where Mumbai where I'm staying, or maybe Himalayas or South. And it's a combination. I'm really never able to answer what kind of temperature it is in India or what kind of food habits we have. These are the common questions I'm being asked. So, and similarly, when I say in terms of technology, we are probably, at this crossroad where we do not have all the data properly being, I'm specifically talking of healthcare. Outside, we have electronic health records. In India, we struggle with that. We don't have, all the data being properly generated or, stored, or for that matter. And that is one part of the story. But that other part of the story is that we are leading in technology globally. Technology innovation also. We might not have those many patents in India. That's a different story, because commercially many times it doesn't make sense to have all those patents in India. I won't go dwell into that space, but we are leading in that. The technology companies globally, we are the leaders. And when it comes to AI, it is like data in is what you will get out. If we do not have data from India, what kind of data are we going to get out? So it's important that we should work in all the fields, in terms of in all aspects, from the beginning until the end, in coherence, in coordination, where we are generating the data, we are storing the data, we are managing the data. Data protection, confidentiality itself is an issue, especially when it comes to healthcare. As well as, we should then work on data output also. That would make the perfect sense. And before we dwell into more details, and I have a very good panel here and a complete panel, so I'm very happy, that I'll be learning a lot from this panel. I'll just quickly, before we move forward, I'll quickly make a distinction here that we are yet to, work in a great extent in terms of automation also. And then, I won't say then, but in parallel, we should also look into AI. So automation is, you may not need too much of data when it comes to automation. You just need logic. So it's relatively easier to work and faster to work. And AI would of course require, lot of data inputs, and that's where the regulators are a bit hesitant also. We find, although they are coming up with a lot of new regulations to facilitate that AI part, because when it comes to healthcare and we have to make conclusive decisions in terms of, replacing AI replacing the clinical trials, or AI replacing the pharmacovigilance functions, the sensitivities is more. So we will need a lot of data, but automation is something which is relatively easier to implement. With that, maybe I'll start from one side, and will request panelists to have a quick introduction and introductory note before we start with some questions.
Sure. I'm Sanchit, part of Global Patient Solutions team at Gilead, and personally, I'm very, very passionate about using digital technology for improving patient health outcomes and making a meaningful difference in the lives of patients. Because at the end of the day, that's the base currency. Any kind of difference that we kind of invest in, any kind of money put in, the ROI is when actually we make difference to the lives of the patient and health outcomes improve.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bijender Mishra, and I'm the CISO and the IT head at Alkem Laboratories. So, very rightly, Deepa said that technology, has to be, in a right adoption at right time. And when we talk about pharmaceutical industry, sooner or later, it has to be a digital pharma company, So traditional pharma may not work or may not give you a right result. So technology is the future, and pharma has to be a digital pharma, sooner or later. Sooner is better. That's my thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So this is Narendra, Chief Digital and Data Officer for Lupin. I think I'm more passionate about people, technology, and how we can implement it when it comes to the solutioning, right? I think we can talk more about it during the course. To the next one.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Yogendra from Saini LifeSciences. I had the Digital Application and Digital Transformation Initiative at Saini. Yes, this is a very fantastic forum, and I would call it. First of all say thank you to Elets for having this kind of. If I give it a name, it is called Digital Gurukul. Where the wisdom is sitting and all the breeds of the people from the different industry and different domains are sitting. So definitely love to be a part of that, and I will definitely say some of the key insight what at Saini we are investing upon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Manish, Kishore. I'm the global head IT with Wockhardt. So it's interesting to be here with all the knowledgeable panelists here, and happy to share my insights. Just that probably we should always stay grounded whenever we talk about technology. I think that's the one keynote, because we get too much enthusiastic about technology and straight away jump into it and don't see value for the organization, for the community. I think that's the keynote that we'll be talking about.
Very interesting. So maybe we can start, the question with you. So can you share insights into some cutting-edge technologies that are paving the way for unprecedented innovation in pharma?
I think the technologies we talk about, they're numerous. In fact, our previous speaker who was here from Persistent, he talked about lot number of areas of technology where we can jump into, where we can work, especially with AI, ML. We talk about 3D printing, gene modification. We talk about precision medicine. A lot of things are coming across, but I think as an organization, we should be very focused. What is the pinpointed thing, that technology that I want to adopt? What is the use of it? Where I'm going to use? Do I have a bandwidth for it? Am I able to scale and sustain that technology together? Do I have the trained manpower to use that technology? I think these areas we should be talking first before even jumping to the technology. So if we see in India, we jump into AI/ML, we jump into ChatGPT, we jump into LLMs. What is the focus area? We don't know about it. Then that's the reason I think 90% of the projects they get diminished over a period of time, I think. But if we look at actually white papers, we look at different articles which are printed in pharma, you will see a lot of technologies with it. In fact, NASCOM Health Tech has developed a deep tech community where there is a lot of debate starting from the students across the startups circle which are working on the deep tech for pharma, healthcare, life sciences.
That's interesting, because as we heard from the previous panel that, I mean, that's kind of complaint also, that India is known as the pharmacy of the world because we are producing the largest number of, drugs globally. So maybe it will be good to focus on the innovation in GMP area, because that's where we are strong, and we should at least hold that fort. Although innovation is important, but that technology in GMP area is something, if anyone
that is rightly said. I think a few of my panelists would agree that how we are maintaining those standards at the time of manufacturing. Is your product exportable and acceptable to the different FDAs of different country? I think that's very important subject.
maybe I'll see it a little differently and I'll have a little longer term vision. Because what we have seen with technology over a period of time, what has changed drastically and which is kind of changing even from a future point of view is like when you look at technology, we can divide the entire piece into two broad parts. First is development, incubation, trial, or even kind of you can add innovation and early adoption to it. And the second part of the curve is when the technology really picks up, where we kind of if in case I have to give a simulation from a standard PLC, where you get into adoption, early adoption, and early majority. And in this particular space, one technology which I see definitely coming in a big way in this particular decade is precision medicine. And precision medicine is going to be, touching lives of us probably in next 5 to 10 years, significantly higher than what we can even kind of, anticipate. Like 20 years back, people could have never thought about, you know, the way internet has transformed, e-commerce. Today it's kind of, talk of every person's usage. As a matter of fact, we do talk about, more than 500 million Indians using it in some form or the other. So my sense is probably 2025 to 2030. That's the time precision medicine would come in, and the reason for that is two important aspects. First is the cost of developing and using has been kind of coming down, because typically what really happens is adoption is linked to cost. The cost coming down, adoption going up. That is one particular aspect. Second is what has really happened is the use of smartphones, because one of the important element about precision medicine is not talking. So many people talk about understanding the genes and genetic makeup. Second important aspect is understanding your lifestyle and environment. So second part, if you look at that kind of the smartphone technology has really defined significantly, and that particular aspect linked with the fact that you are kind of even doing for some of these cancers and even rare diseasing, looking at kind of even fingerprinting of molecules and usability, that will kind of change, because what really happens is your specificity would lead to better patient outcome, leading to in the overall cost effectiveness, the denominator coming down. So that will propel. Probably may not be in initial 1 or 2 years, but definitely post that, it will really zoom up, because experts estimate globally, matter of few years, it's going to be more than 100 billion industry. And I don't see no reason why it will kind of percolate to other parts of geographies also.
Sure. You would like to discuss about this?
Yeah, so basically, pharma industry is a bit different and complex. Constantly technology has evolved, to meet patients' demand worldwide. Yeah, and I was just reading one of recent report which says that pharmaceutical technology market size is going to touch 150 billion USD in next 5 years. So it's a huge number, by the way. 150 billion USD in next 5 years. That means almost is going to be doubled. Yeah. So technology has to be, well integrated at every step of pharmaceutical processes. And someone talked about, how artificial intelligence is helping in drug discovery or drug development, even in drug delivery as well. But few other, critical areas which, I have some use cases, probably I may not have much time to discuss that. It also helps, to improve your manufacturing processes. And I was privileged to, lead couple of similar projects where we found a tremendous result, unexpected results we found when we improved the manufacturing processes while using artificial intelligence. Not only that, also in, identifying a right patient for your clinical trials. So technology is a future of pharma. Technology has to be well integrated at each and every processes, whether it's a drug discovery or drug development, or it's a clinical trials, or it's a drug repurposing. Everywhere technology has to be part of your processes and consideration.
Narendra, you would like to?
Yeah, so before I start, how many of you are from pharma companies? Just a show of hand. Maybe a third, or maybe and from system integrators. Okay, so I believe a third of you are neither from pharma nor from system integrator. Okay, so I believe we get swayed away with a lot of technology talks. When we talk about Pharma 4.0, how many of you know Pharma 3.0? Only 3 hands. That means most of the people actually don't even know what Pharma 3.0 was. Why do we need Pharma 4.0? What was the difference? And how many of you will also probably already talking about Pharma 5.0? Any show of hands? No one, right? So technology will always be there. Okay, it has to solve the business problems. And if you have to really understand the hype cycle, I don't want to ride the hype. I want to ride the plateau. I don't know how many of you probably would understand the hype cycle. So I don't want to ride the hype. That's huge investment. There's so many companies between 2012 to 2015 have moved to cloud, thinking that cloud will be cheaper or it'll do everything. It'll solve every problem of the world that they have. But it did not. And they are moving to hybrid. Cost is one reason, but there are many other reasons as well. GMP being one of the of course key reasons that not everything can go to the cloud. But that's what technology companies have sold us, and we bought that. Right? I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong, because we also have a lot of FOMO, because in the past there are a lot of fear of missing out, because a lot of companies lost because they did not adopt the technology early on. So we really have to have a very judicious call that what to take and what not to take. And that has to come from the business. If your business goal is not aligned, you can always have certain budget for the experimentation, but that's not where you'll put all your bucks, right? You can't put all your eggs in that basket. So you really have to see what business sense is making, what is aligned with the business goals. That's where your big bucks are going to be. And you can always experiment with the technologies. I come back to the automation part that Deepa actually asked. In fact, I may disagree with her a little bit. I believe almost anything that we are doing for last so many years, the IT industry is doing, is all about automation. You have done engineering, at least half of you would be engineers, right? If other half are non-engineers, which is fine. We did coding. Why did we do the coding? 20 years ago, also we were selling automation. Today also we are selling automation, but probably intelligent automation. Today automation has not just one technology or not just one vendor, right? Today I can write Python code to do the automation. Today even the data platform I have, or data lake I have, is also for automation, right? I am automating some part of it. So automation has moved from bare minimum automation of some routine, very simple processes to extremely complex processes. And that's what we're doing, right? So in automation, I probably would say that we have actually made a huge progress, leaps and bounds. I think the pharma industry also in the last 3 years have seen huge progress. But yeah, I will reserve my inputs on not riding the hype.
My point was if you don't have data, if you have data on papers, you can't do automation. That's what I was saying, that, that is the start, that should be the starting point. But of course, it doesn't mean that AI should be left behind. We have to work on all aspects together, because we are at that very interesting point where we have to do so many things, and there is a space for everyone there. So, but I will not talk too much at this point. First, let's have some inputs from Yogendra.
Yeah, thank you. I think I definitely echo 2 points. One is stay grounded, and second, I definitely take the input, echo the point of Mr. Saini, that let's sort the basic problems. And sometimes I feel that behind any artificial intelligence, success of any AI, there is a very strong natural intelligence there. If we are not good at understanding our manual process, it's very difficult to automate them. Sometimes, jokingly, I see that technology is like a new astrologer of today. Whatever you do as a part of technology, whether we do AI, ML, or deep learning or anything, end of the day, it gives you a better prediction. Right? In healthcare, whatever the technology you do, X-ray or you do CT scan or anything, it enables you a better prediction. But the right equation of digital transformation is prediction and then plus a clear judgment which has to be taken by human beings, and then clear judgment does not gives you yielded result until unless you define the clear actions. So at Sai, we have taken a very three-pronged approach that let's focus on, we call it system of records. Let's capture the data, whatever we generate. And then we call it system of optimization. Identify that from that data, what information I am getting, what knowledge I can use it, and how do I optimize the process? How I can enable my chemist to make more molecules, to do more experiments, how I can see that at my production manufacturing facility, how I can increase the yield, right? How can I decrease the batch cycle time and things like that? And then at the same time, we are also investing 30% of entire our energy on the top tech AIML projects. I'll talk about few shortly once we move ahead from that.
You can continue.
So few of the projects on the third layer, which is called business technology, system of transformation. Two projects I would like to talk about. We, since Dr. Dixit has already covered everything what is happening in life science as far as technology is concerned, I will not repeat that. We are building a private large language models. You might have seen in pharmaceutical industry, we have got thousands of SOPs. Now those SOPs we upload on LMS portal and then the users do next on PDF. The effectiveness is really does not matter. Normally people do it for the sake of GMP compliance that I have completed the training. But really they do with sector-centric are they carry the context of it. So what we did that by using LLM model, we are funneling all our SOPs onto LLM model, allowing Gen AI and LLM algorithm to digest it, and we are building a digital assistant of it. So let's say being a chemist or analyst, when I am handling a metron titrator or any other instrument, I do not know what model it is. I am asking a digital assistant that how do I calibrate this? And digital assistant is not going to outside world. It is bringing all the qualified data from my pre-approved written procedures and policies and giving that context on go. So such kind of small use cases if we do, that gives more business value. And when we are sitting in a board forum, I definitely keep away and stay low. I do not use what is the difference between data warehouse, what is the logical data warehouse, what is the data lake, and what is the data hub, because there is a digital depth in the organization. You have a different level of people, so we always need to keep disseminating knowledge among the groups. We have in fact built a team, and that I call it DIL. DIL stands for Digital Innovation Lab, where we have people from millennials, where we have a Gen Z, where the old wisdom people are sitting, who have strong domain holds. So definitely these kind of initiatives will certainly reduce the drug discovery and get better yielded intended results.
It's very interesting the point that you raised. Technology should be helping us, and not it shouldn't be otherwise. And as a technology leader, I think it's important to understand what are the requirements of different departments. Maybe if any one of you would like to share this kind of experience from within the organization, I will take a little bit. I will not probably go with the set of questions, but I will prefer that because that's something really that everybody will be benefited from.
So let me take that very quickly. Then rest of the members also take it. So I think I'm audible that way as well. So basically, what we have started with about a couple of years back, we started working with the business teams to set up their own digital roadmap, function by function, because one size doesn't fit all. And we figured out that we cannot really have a single strategy for every function. We probably have one at an overarching lake house kind of a scenario, but then Probably each function, business function would probably need their own data warehouse or a data lake, and that's where we started. We started with the data literacy part first. Okay. After the data literacy, we worked with them. What is a digital roadmap? They can probably start looking into it. Some of the functions were forefront. They were up, forthcoming, saying that okay, we need these things. We don't understand this part of the digital. For us, it is new. And can you please help us understand? And probably not even we understood that well, right? So this is where we did an outside in. We got people inside. We worked on setting up expectations from digital transformation for a particular department, particular function, and that's where we had a group of, or maybe a set of projects where we set up a digital roadmap, what to do first based on the priority, based on the business outcome and all, and the maturity that people had. It also included the literacy program for the people who are in the plant, people who are actually working there on different shifts. What is that we can do? And that's a work in progress that we are doing. Okay, but what I'm saying is, I think probably my previous remarks was slightly pessimistic. Not really from my point of view, but it was more realistic. But at the same time, technology has a big role to play. 5 years down the line, it will be difficult to differentiate between a pharma company and technology company, because we will be a technology company. We will have our own center of excellences. For me, currently, I manage 7 center of excellences internally. So we'll have our own center of excellences. We'll build our own expertise, but even two different pharmas doing exactly one same thing will probably have different processes, different SOPs, right? So you have to build your own expertise around that one. And I believe that's one thing when we work with the function, specific, zero down on what is a particular functional need and work on that one. That's one of the ways that we have used the technology intervention.
Besides inputs from the departments, quality function can give a lot of insights in this, because they would have an overview of the compliance across the organization.
In pharma, quality is the driving seat.
Yes, so it will be good to work with them always. Please.
So I'll give a very different dimension, maybe something which people think is kind of probably in theory or happening in Western world, but interestingly, I'm personally aware of a couple of use cases and quite successful use cases, including, patient assurance program, wherein you kind of, actually help and work with the physician in identifying the right patient in terms of, the medical background, in terms of guidelines, etc. You drive, you kind of, drive compliance, you monitor data, and you kind of, even assure, because you can't assure pinpoint, but, you give a range. And creating this kind of models, which has been quite successfully, done in some of the cases, called for a lot of commitment and investment. Though kind of, they look fancy to talk in a meeting like this, but I can tell you, cross-functional, interdepartmental work, right from your medical, quality, regulatory, drug safety, business compliance, legal, IT, in terms of, ensuring that the data which is kind of, being used, plus your external partners in terms of, the vendor who will kind of, administer on your behalf, or, even kind of, the application service provider, because at the end of the day, there has to be a tool which is there with the physician, which has to be there with the, caregiver, ensuring that kind of, this entire process works seamlessly. It's a, phenomenal, cross-functional and even kind of, I would say extra-functional effort. But then at the end of the day, if in case, this gives the result, you are able to improve patients' quality of life, enhance access, I think all the pain is kind of, worth it.
So, like healthcare, pharmaceutical industry also generates a lot of, data. And where we struggle, to have insights from the data. So, to have a better insights from the data literacy is very important. That's what Mr. Nanda has highlighted, that when I interact with most of business leaders, they have very limited understanding of their requirement when they talk about digital transformation, or where they want to automate their different processes. So, being an IT leader, we need to make them aware and realize that how this data is important for them, how this automation is going to help them to streamline their different processes. Like I gave one example earlier, that when I was leading a project of improving manufacturing processes, I had to struggle a lot. I had a series of meetings with the plant heads, QC, QA, even with the CEO. And initially, I was struggling to make them convinced that how this process is going to, help them to improve the productivity of the plant. But the moment they realize that this process is going to help them to increase the productivity, they were very open and very supportive. So awareness is very important. Process literacy, data literacy is very important. It plays a very crucial role when you are interacting with the different business heads.
I think that is very relevant, and maybe first.
I think very relevant points picked up by Narendra, Bijender. So, we have different departments, and ultimate goal is to serve the patient for pharma companies. And I think very rightly pointed out, patient assistance programs are very important in today because you have to touch with the customer and understand. So it is until the clinical trials only we follow the data. After that, what happens is only the market inputs, which is half cooked, which comes to us, or a PV kind of data which is given to us for analyzing and further enhancing. But after that, what are the modifications that is required in your medicine or through the molecule? Are we allowed by regulation to do that? How much time it takes to implement it? If we see vaccine as a pure example, how we quickly developed it, the emergency approval was given and then circulated it, then changes were accepted. Can we make it as a SOP for all of the things? Not why we are saying only for vaccine. So there is a lot of abuse of medicine at the patient side because we advertise it, people see it. Okay, this is a crocin or a paracetamol. Okay, I have a fever, please take it. So, in fact, we are working a lot on the antibiotic side as Wockhardt. There is a lot of antibiotic resistance which is coming. So, what are we doing about that? So, are we spending a lot of time on the research and development? And I think rightly pointed out the geography specific data. So, we developed it on the data which is from the US that will not be right fit for India. In India itself, is it right fit for people who are staying in the eastern side than the South Indian side of it? I think that correlation is very important when we gather the data and stimulate it further. So that kind of confidence level which is required from the data to predict any through the AI or ML model has to be validated, it has to be ethical. So when we send the people to the market, we'll also have to see, validate, is it the right input that we are getting or they have fudged the data? What is the source of the data? I think that is very important to gather that point of, and then the data is correlated. I think we are today in an area where the data has to be interoperable. Yeah. We should all collaborate as pharma companies and start exchanging the data. The health exchanges should start coming in. NHA has formed and at least given some shape of the metadata and the interoperability, but that is just at the EHR level. How we can use it further, I think that as a community, we should go together, meet the government, form some policies around, and that's how we can improve the standards of the living with the patients, the better care for them.
Very interesting points raised by Manish. So basically what we have discussed so far is one of the most important thing, technology should increase the productivity. And within an organization, I think all the leaders, technology leaders are focusing on all departments in parallel and prioritizing as per their specific requirements. And it's important to use technology wisely, not not ride the hype, right? That's what. But use it when once it has been stabilized, so that it can be properly used. Now, how are you all planning the future? That is the question, and how it can increase the collaboration. We heard little bit about external collaborations between different companies. What can be the challenges? What can be the what can be the concerns, especially when it comes to data, the most important concern is data being misused. But besides that, what can be the challenges, how these can be strengthened? Maybe.
Okay. So, I'll stay focused on, the patient aspect because that's kind of, my, domain. So talking about, collaboration, both, and where we see, future, like, one area where I would see, and I'm cognizant of time, I'll just focus on one micro bit of it, not kind of, taking too much of time, is what we have seen it, being used in the Western world quite a lot, and probably use of technology and smartphones would change. What we call as prompts, maybe, for the benefit of the group, we say, patient reported outcome measurement. And there are kind of, international guidelines. And as a matter of fact, even a lot of medical association also talk about that. But really translating that to get to a system where, there's a data sanctity, there's a right amount of, patient education in terms of, reporting, so that it kind of, makes a meaningful analysis. Otherwise, what really happens is kind of, if this data is generally, entered, then it may not be, very meaningful. So if you ask me, it calls for both, investment with respect to kind of interface, and very importantly, education of the patient. And given one of the challenges, and, it's pretty well documented, the in-clinic time between a physician and the patient, and how that can be, supplemented through other intervention, is something where kind of, a lot of future investment would be required. So that's one small bit I would like to focus on.
Well, so contact, communicate, and collaborate. That's the key, So even within your organization, when you are talking about data or technology, you need to be very open, and you have to keep open multiple channels with your different stakeholders, business heads, to ensure that you are acting as a facilitator for them, for the business. But at the same time, you need to ensure that you maintain confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data.
If I have to talk about, I think going back to the hype cycle discussion that we have had, not saying that we should always work on the experimenting with the new technologies. I believe we must always keep certain budget over there. I think the use case that you talked about the training is definitely one of the digital assistants, one of the very good use case. We have tried something similar, and but our motive to experiment with the technology should not be fear of missing out. It should be really looking at what the business value that we are unlocking. If we are doing that, it does not really harm to be an early adopter. Absolutely not. As long as there is a business value unlocking happens. But at the same time, we should also look at that we have our own ways of evaluating, so that we we deliberately miss the hype, because in hype, as again I think Sanchit said that it requires commitment and investment. I think that investment could be huge, and it could basically a few years down the line it might hurt to the organization. So you have to be very, very cautious. Business value is very, very important part. Second very important thing is people. We'll have to invest in people. When I say invest in people, a person, the last person who's standing in the company and probably down the pyramid, can they really understand data? Can we start talking about, English, Hindi, data as a language? Do you understand data? Can you look at the data and understand the different attributes of it? I'm not really saying that they have to be data scientists, but they at least have to learn data. It's very, very important as we go forward. Another few years down the line, the people who are sitting over there, who are still in the job, or who still probably will excel in the jobs, they need to be able to read, understand the data, the way it comes. And it has to be across the organization and not only limited to data or digital team for that matter, right? So that's why I think democratization of data understanding is extremely important. That's the second important part. Third is your technology should be well, somewhere that everyone should be able to use it, right? It should be available to the last person. Again, coming back to the same thing, last person. When they want to do experiment with the data, do they have the tools available even just to explore the data? If they have to do a exploratory data analysis, right? The real innovation, or incremental innovation that we talk about, or Kaizen we talk about, actually comes from those people, because those people who are working on the product on the shop floor, potentially they can actually tell you that there is a potential of 0.5% of yield improvement in a particular product. That 0.5% could actually mean a lot, right? And if you are able to do this year on year, you can probably reach to the I would not say not theoretical maxima, but at least practical maxima you can reach. I have seen in my own organization, we have been able to achieve 99.5% of yield, which is fairly good when I really have to look at from the material that comes in, right? So those are the incremental innovations, and if people are really aware and the technology is available to the last person, I think there's a huge scope of improvement for us, both from the margin improvement. That's one part, and second part was, which is about the top line improvement. I think that's another very, very important aspect. Probably I'll not delve into details of that one. It'll take a lot of time, but we can talk about it off the stage.
You can.
Yeah, I think very valid 2-3 key points: collaboration and what you call digital literacy. Yes, I definitely agree. Before that, I just would like to go a little back into history. If you all remember that Apollo 11, anybody knows that how much there was a computer who was assisting Apollo 11 to put a man on the moon, and what was the RAM size of Apollo 11, that computer? You would be surprised to know that they were using 2.5 kilobytes of the RAM. And with the 2.5 kilobytes of the RAM, they can put a man on the moon. And now we are carrying more than 64 GB, not even MB, gigabytes of the RAM in our personal computer. So sometimes I feel that technology is like a car with a two-wheel car, where the technology circle wheel is too bigger. However, the adoption circle, how we are using it, technology at our ease with digital, maturity or digital adoption, that wheel is not growing that far, and that imbalance will topple around. Coming back to few more thoughts, I personally believe this 20th century was the discovery of where we discovered the physical worlds. I mean, we discovered there are many notable noble discoveries of matter, energy, and which has made us enable to put a man on the moon. But we still feel that though there are a lot of advancement on the healthcare and cancer cytogenetics, but we still feel that cancer is not 100% curable. And the reason, if you go deep dive into that, 21st century, I believe, would be the century of knowing the biological behavior and system bit more. Among your 20,000 to 25K genes out of your human genome, I think 3,000 genes are druggable today, which we know. And out of 3,000 druggable genes, I think very few hundreds we have exploited so far. So there is a huge potential, a lot to do in biologics, and we know that from small molecule to big molecule, which is biologics, the world is moving on. Definitely, I would emphasize upon that we have to focus on adopting technology with the same pace the way technology is growing and giving you the better platforms.
I think we talked about manufacturing, supply chain, patient safety, and since most of us are from pharma, I think we spend a lot of time just giving a thought towards, and a lot of time in audits and compliance. Have you thought about, can technology help us in arranging the data which is required by the auditor at the time, and we spend less time towards just complying to it and get a certificate out of it, and spend more productive time in manufacturing, patient support, and all those areas? I think that's where I think we should be working towards is, can LLM or the other models support us in gathering the data and giving it to the auditor, and it is plain suit. So I'm not required it. This is a system, take input. So are we that compliant towards it? Are we that much ready for that? I think that's the thought which I can.
That's that's really interesting inputs, and there are companies, of course, I won't name them on this platform, which are already compiling. They are setting up these data rooms, and where the auditors can give their inputs, they can give their remarks, and you can share the documents. Those systems are available. We recently used for one of the.
I will just add one of the points since you asked about how the technology can help. I would not say that. I mean, to my personal experience, we have not used technology to deliver documents or desired query answer to FDA auditor. What we have done, that we have used technology to give me a early warning signs. Let's say it's humanly not possible to lakhs and lakhs of audit trail of your empower system, your limb system, but technology can enable you. It can go in night and read what are anomalies, right? How many, why you have stopped that injection, right? Why you have repeated that injection? All those data which humanly is it not possible to review, but technology can review, can give you a morning update that you should visit that.
How
Yeah.
many of them using it?
Yeah.
That's the automation part that I started with, basically flagging anything which is out of range, or out of normal. That is something that is the first thing, of course, technology can do. And we use flag system, lot of our systems to flag, when the timelines are approaching, when it is, when you see the stability data, which is not at par, or OS you are getting. That's from the manufacturing side. From the innovation side, of course, there is a lot to do when it comes to drug discovery part, and then data management is your area, and it's really very important, to include all of the organization. That was a very good point. Everybody in the organization should be able to. If people understand, they will be able to contribute. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. It will increase the productivity of the organization, and of course, if pharma companies are more productive, it will ultimately benefit the patients, which is the whole purpose of this exercise, right? And then in the collaboration parts that you highlighted, and Sanchit has been continuously speaking about the precision medicine and the patient centricity, where technology is adding a lot of value, and there is a lot of scope, considering that we haven't touched all aspects. There is so much of potential. So with that, I think our time is also up. And if there are any questions, I think we have an esteemed panel that they will be able to address. Please feel free to ask.